What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Podclass. My name is Beaux.
I'm Parker.
And we're here to talk to you guys about something that's become a huge part of how people learn in and outside the classroom, and that is with podcasts. Most of us have listened to at least one podcast before, whether it was for entertainment, school, or just to pass the time on a long drive. We've all been there. But what many people don't realize is just how powerful podcasts can be when it comes to education. They aren't just background noises.
Nice.
They're actually incredibly effective learning tool that can help students understand content better, stay motivated, and connect what they're learning in the real world.
That's good.
Everyone loves that. So first, podcasts can help learning be more engaging and accessible. Let's be honest, sometimes reading long chapters, listening to lectures can get dragging, repetitive, and overall just really boring. Podcasts can give students a different way to absorb information because they rely on storytelling, sometimes interviews, sound, and pacing. They keep our attention in a different way than textbooks does because it's just people having a conversation. And that's what we witness in everyday lives. We all have conversations. So what better way to actually give them an example of a good conversation that is educational and overall can help them learn. They also feel more natural and, like I just said, a conversation, almost like you're sitting in on a discussion rather than being talked at. This type of learning can be specifically helpful for students who struggle with traditional instruction or who learn better just by listening.
Come on, man. That's too easy.
Way too easy.
Podcasts also give students the freedom to learn anywhere and at any time. So, like whenever you have a snow day, like we are currently in right now, something that could have been done, which now don't get me wrong, everyone loves a little off day, but if you really feel like you need to fit something in after a unit or like I just said, you have an off day, this could be a good alternative instead of just having them sit at home. Give them a podcast on, like if you're in a history class, maybe over World War II that talks about exactly what you wanted to fit in that class period. And maybe pair it with some questions or just something to help them still get what you needed in for that lesson, and they can do it from home.
Yep. Makes it way easier and accessible. So another benefit podcast, it really helps them build stronger comprehension skills. So today we're kind of learning about reading and writing in our class. So when students listen to podcasts, they have to follow big ideas and keep track of information while they're usually multitasking. This is used constantly in our workplaces, whether it be in a classroom or anywhere else. It provides really exposure to like those sentence structure and the vocabulary they never thought they'd really use, and it makes them really fluent. So it really makes them and helps those ELL listeners and learners pay attention to the class and podcasts. They also bring those real world voices in the classroom. So a lot of people don't really have access to those guest speakers or the people that they idolize or the experts that you want to bring in to get to talk to you. So making it possible to hear directly from those experts, whether it be like an athlete, a doctor, an author, maybe like a historian or something.
Bill Nye.
Neil
deGrasse Tyson. They all have podcasts these days, and if you want to go listen to them, you can. These people are experts that really are accessed on your phone, computer, anything, like anywhere, and can really it's good exposure for these students to hear from these people and talk about things that are relevant to their education, their lives, and what's going on around the world. Podcasts can also support students with differentiating learning needs. Many students with ADHD, dyslexia, or other learning differences find that listening helps them focus better than reading. And honestly, I feel that way too. And once I found out about podcasts and I started really listening to podcasts, it helped me expand my knowledge and just think about for like a student how much helpful that could be opposed to just long textbooks.
What do you mean by that?
Because podcasts remove the pressure of decoding text, students can understand complex ideas without feeling overwhelmed. They can also pause, rewind, and replay episodes, giving them full control over the pace of their learning. This makes podcasts a very inclusive tool that helps all kinds of learners succeed. Like, for example, popcorn reading.
But
No one likes popcorn reading. Like, imagine whenever...
Disgusting!
It's disgusting. Like, popcorn reading whenever your student or whenever your teacher calls on you and you're not prepared, you don't know what we're reading at, and a podcast can help get rid of that stress to where they can have full control over what they're actually learning, the pace that they're doing it, and it can help take away the stress.
another major benefit these podcasts can bring to learning is building that curiosity and spark that deep learning that they'll do by themselves. We as educators really want students to seek deeper learning and go deeper than what we just show them or teach them in the classroom. And a good way to do this is by podcasts. A lot of students will learn information by like reading articles by themselves, or like watching videos or something. But if you get a podcast that introduces an idea and really starts to deepen it for them, it makes it real interesting. They'll use these hooks and storytellings that make it applicable to their own lives, and it makes the information stick with them way, way longer. These podcasts promote the communication and creativity where students kind of can create on their own. So a lot of teachers now are signing podcast projects instead of those traditional papers or slideshows. So the student can kind of be able to create a script by themselves and have them have time to prepare for their own podcast. This is like the real world. They're not going to be put on the spot and tell them to present right then and there. They're going to have time to prepare a presentation, and this allows them to organize their ideas and explain clearly and think critically about how to communicate to their audience. It's always about the audience, about who you are communicating these concepts to. These are skills that are going to transfer their real world careers as well.
What we can also use podcasts for, and maybe as an assignment, is give examples of different podcasts that are good for education or beneficial to them, and then as an authentic assessment, instead of having them write a paper or do a test and cram for a test, have them pair up with two or three students and create a podcast where they actually have to have that conversation, give them choice of a subject, and it can help them learn better how to have those conversations, and also help you, the teacher, see that they actually know what they're talking about. Exactly. Podcasts can motivate students by making learning feel more personal. Because podcasts often feature interviews, real stories, and authentic voices, students feel a stronger emotional connection to the actual material. This makes learning feel less like a task and more like an experience. When students care about what they're hearing, they engage more deeply and are more likely to remember it. Kind of to close, before we put a bow on this podcast, on the Podclass, I should say, we want to kind of talk to you about how podcasts can help students prepare for a world where information comes in many forms. Learning today is no longer limited to textbooks and lectures, like we previously said. Mm-hmm. Young people need to be able to learn from videos, discussions, interviews, digital platforms, and audio sources. And whenever we're in this time in education where we have so many ways of supplying this knowledge to students, whether it is by videos, discussions, interviews, whatever.
A lot of tech.
It would help if we actually help these students practice analyzing these different materials to help us as teachers, our job easier.
Like a podcast, man. They're
exactly.
big.
Overall, podcasts, they make learning more accessible, more flexible, and more engaging. They help students develop important skills, connect to real-world voices, and explore ideas with curiosity and confidence. Whether students are learning or listening to them in the classroom or on their own time, podcasts open the door to deeper learning in a way that fits more naturally into their everyday life. Well, that's it for us. Have a good snow day.
Podclass out.